Towards the end of the show itself, kill the Boer.
I saw that coming.
Right?
Look, kill the Boer, they want to, our white monopoly, our white as a whole race wants to escape using it that we will conquer. In all sphere, if you're going to give us roses, we'll give you back roses. If you're going to give us war, we'll give you back war. Whatever you give us, you will get. We are not scared of an enemy. An enemy right now must be scared of us. In fact, I advise the enemy now to come and negotiate with us so that they can just have a smaller piece of the pie. That's a friendly advice that I can give to the enemy. What they did to our forefathers, they will never do it to us.
Peace and love, peace and power to all the African family from wherever you find yourself, from the diaspora or on the continent. We are happy to have you today in our weekly show where we discuss about African matters. We discuss about our liberation and emancipation as African people. So guess what? Today I have brought to you somebody that you've never going to imagine. I've got Mr. Bongani from the EFF. Mr. Bongani, good day, sir.
Thank you very much, my brother. How are you?
I'm all good. Thank you very much for welcoming us in your home today. Can you please introduce yourself so that the people that are watching us from all over the world can get to know you?
Firstly, let me send my warm greetings to EFF ground forces, the fighters, the cadres of South Africa and Africa as a whole, and send a warm greeting to our brothers and sisters all over Africa and diaspora as a whole. And my name is Bongani Ramonja. I'm an EFF member. I'm a leader in Tshwane region, based in sub-region 5.
Beautiful. Nice to meet you here.
Likewise.
Thank you. Let's start quickly with the 10th anniversary that happened just recently. What is your observation on that, and what do you see as a way forward for the economic freedom fighters?
Well, our 10th years anniversary, I hear a lot of people talking about the history in making. But our intention was not about history. History is by the way.
Yeah.
Our intention was to see the level of commitment of our people towards EFF. To see how many people that wants to see change and liberation and transformation in our country. And indeed, they've shown us. They've got courage and faith in EFF. They came in numbers. FNB was filled. And by it being filled, history was made. But our intention was not history. Was to see the commitment, the level of commitment in our people of South Africa if they really are looking for socialism and change.
That's beautiful. Towards the end of the show itself, kill the Boer.
I saw that coming.
Right?
Look, kill the Boer, they want to, our white monopoly, our white as a whole race wants to escape using it. They need to be convicted, really, with liberation. We need equality. We need equality. Kill the Boer, it's a system. We are not talking about a person. We're not emotional people. We understand that it's not about emotion. It's about the system that is currently oppressing our brothers and sisters. Right now, we don't have a means of production in our country. The means of production is owned by the minority, by the capitalist, by the white monopoly. Our working class are struggling every single day. Our poor, our middle class are struggling because we don't have a means of production. Look at the high rate of unemployment. It's because of that system that we want to collapse. Hence we say kill the Boer, kill the farmer. We are simply saying that we're going to collapse the system that is not fashionable for the working class.
But what do you say, or what would you say about those Africans who believe that since ANC came to power, it has been a kind of a prototype of what black leadership can be when you take it, or when you take off won't take over from white people. After 27 years of of black leadership in South Africa, we see a decline of the economy, unemployment, all these things that we know in the country. What would you say will be different if you take completely white people out of control and you replace them with the black people? While we've already seen some kind of decline in the system when black people have been in charge for the past 27 years.
Look, my brother, white system has been functioning for many years. It's a well-functioning machine. Mm-hmm. You should understand that. Collapsing it is not going to take us a day or a decade. But we are very disappointed with how our liberated movement called ANC has done. Mm-hmm. It shows that ANC was not about economic freedom. It did not want to have a means of production for our black people. It was about self. It was about themselves. Mm-hmm. That they fought for what? Because they were supposed to fight for the nation and make sure that the means of production is in the hands of our people. But they failed to do that. Why? It is because of they are sleeping in the same blanket with the same whites that were running the system. Mm-hmm. Now the whites are running the system with the color of black, which is ANC. Mm-hmm. What do you call that?
So, but that's the point. What do you think, or what is the EFF doing currently to make sure that we have leaders who are not going to kind of continue the current trajectory that the INC has taken already? As you said, it's kind of a white monopoly ruling under or in the black color or something like that, right? So what do you do currently? Because when you see the politics, you see that people are shifting from one side to another side. You see you had Mashaba in the DA changes, becomes another political party. It's the same person, right? Same mindset. You see people who were in the INC jumping, coming to maybe EFF. So it's kind of the same people changing. So what do you do to prepare a different mindset that will not going to do the very same thing that INC is doing?
Firstly, you need to understand that the people that are shifting from one organization to another is because they are mentally enslaved by the capitalist. Mm-hmm. They're trying to push the agenda of the capitalist in different form and colors. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that as EFF. EFF is the only organization that is fighting for the black brothers and sisters in South Africa and Africa as a whole. EFF are fighting for socialism. Because socialism is an ideology that they don't want to introduce, because they know that if that ideology is being introduced in our country and African continent as a whole, that ideology, what will do is it will bring a means of production in the hands of the majority, and there will be equality in our country. So when you see Mashaba now moving from DA, it's not that they fought with DA. They're just manifesting themselves in different colors and different organizations so that they can be able to manage EFF not to grow an image. Mm-hmm. If you look at Mashaba, he came as if he's representing blacks, but the white skin, it's already behind him. DA also white. IFP white. Those people are not interested in seeing the growth of our South African brothers and sisters. The only thing that they look at is the interest and protecting the interest of the minority, because they are sleeping in the same blanket with the minority. And by the way, they're getting fact checks. EFF does not get anything from anyone, because it's a movement that is confident in making sure that it will deliver victory to our black brothers and sisters. We want the working class to have a means of production.
Talking about victory, let's look at this. You see, currently, not just in South Africa, even in Western countries, we see an emerging political, how can I call it, a strategy that we can call populism, or populist political kind of a strategy. It means people now are coming with this idea of nationalism, patriotism, to say that, okay, our country is in danger now, let us stand together and then save our country. Something that EFF really kind of in the middle, because EFF is open to quote unquote foreigners, right? EFF says, let's welcome our fellow African brothers and sisters. Let's live together, which is kind of counterproductive to the to the struggle to win the power in South Africa, because the majority of the people in South Africa are inclined to that message of, we are South Africans, let's save South Africans, let's protect ourselves against foreigners, let's save our interests and stuff like that. But EFF trying to open up to these foreigners, do you see that you'll be able to win the power as you are talking about with this kind of policy if you are not seen by the majority of South Africans as people who are fighting solely for the interests of South Africans?
We as EFF currently we are introducing a political education where we want to educate our brothers and sisters to understand the manifesto of the EFF and the cardinal pillars. Because when we speak about borderless, when we speak about Africa to working together, it's not something new, by the way. Mm-hmm. Many years ago, Mother Africa was one continent, there was no borders. And if you look at the word trade, tradition is derived from the word trade. So it means we're trading amongst ourselves as African. It was a norm and it was a culture, it was normal. We are owning gold and silver and platinum in South Africa. Other countries are owning oil. Lesotho is owning textile, clothes and shoes, and etc. Imagine when you trade amongst ourselves. Bring in the restoration of trading, because trading is something that comes a long way with Africans. Because our culture is to love, is to share, is to trade amongst ourselves, is to love one another, up until the devil comes with a form of colonization and brought borders amongst us. And we were born and raised with a mentality of borders, with a mentality of selfishness, with a mentality of dividing ourselves based on a culture. But one culture in South Africa is a culture of Ubuntu. Our people need to be educated. They need to understand that when I see another African brother, I see my brother. It's something that needs to be educated. I understand now South Africans are fighting because of the minority introducing the system of us working for them, owning the whole 95% of the production. We own nothing. We're only serving them and working for their plantation and industries. Now, when you work for them, they cannot employ the majority because we are many. Now, because of that, we're struggling. Because of that, we are fighting. If we had the means of production in our own hands, we're not going to fight, we're going to trade from one another. Imagine South Africans owning their own toothpaste. How many people are we going to employ? Imagine South Africa owning their own car. We're going to have how many car dealerships? Imagine South Africa owning their own textile and clothing range. How many people we're going to employ? I'm impressed and proud of the man who started Batu and the man who started Drip. It shows that South Africans in Africa are starting to understand that we need to own our own production.
But that's where some people have. I will come to the previous question just now, but I want to just point on what you've just said now. That we want to see our people owning our own stuff, our means of production. So the question that some people may ask is, why don't you start right now before you get rid completely of the system of white men? Because what many people think is, if you try to get rid or to kill the Boer completely, quote unquote, the system, right? As you say, the Boer means the system, right? If you want to kill that system, aren't you going to go through the same direction and facing the same consequences that, for example, Zimbabwe has faced, whereby the economy collapses and white people leave South Africa, go to Europe, and then you have to go in another dark age where you have to run away, for example, from the very same means of production that you were looking for as Zimbabweans, as Congolese, as other people are running away to look for other green pastures. What is preventing you as South Africans to start owning your industries right now as we're speaking, or building some from fresh?
It's challenging to start now because we are living in the country of democracy. And you know that democracy, the one that are leading and that are holding the government are the one that are going to be in charge of the production. Right now, the government is led by the white monopoly through a black skin or through a black person. And they are having the power. We cannot do anything about it up until democratically we are able to remove them and we take over. The same way that Sankara did. Yet to take Sankara to win through democracy, to be able to introduce socialism and communist, in his country up until he was assassinated. We are going through the same system. We're saying that we are not scared of them. We're not going to go through war. We're not going to fight with other means. We're going to hit them with the same system that they created for us, which is democracy. When we hit them in democracy numbers in 2024, we will manifest socialism in our country. The means of production will be in the hands of our poor.
Yeah. So that means you want to get first the political power, then you'll be able to apply socialism as a philosophy.
South Africa is a democratic country, so we have to be in power for us to be able to collapse the system altogether. Seeing these emerging political parties is because of they want to manage EFF, not to introduce the ideology of socialism. And let me tell you, this is the season of socialism. Yeah. There is nothing they can do about it, whether they like it or not. CIC, Julius Malema, is the incoming president, and that man has the vision that is given by God, and it's a vision of socialism. If we can test him, we will see that he has a vision that will bring transformation in our country. If you look at, I'll take you back to the Bible if there are people who are interested in reading the Bible. You look at the times of Moses, when he went to deliver the children of Israel out of Egypt. We call that deliverance. Mm-hmm. So he delivered them out of Egypt, but he did not take them to Canaan where there is freedom. But Joshua to manifest, because Joshua did not have a slave mentality like Moses, and Joshua delivered them to the promised land. Look at what is happening in today, that Nelson Mandela, who's the deliverer, has delivered us out of the system of apartheid, and Joshua is emerging by the name of Julius Malema. He's not delivering us, but he's taking us to the promised land of freedom in our lifetime. Economic freedom in our lifetime. Joshua. He is anointed. He's called. And that's nothing beautiful. Can change that.
Good analogy. How many years do you think you still have to gain power as EFF in South Africa?
We only have a couple of months.
Only
have a couple of months. On a serious note, we only have a couple of months. We're doing quite well on a ground level. EFF is always on the ground level every single day. We're working at each and every branches. We are attending situation and problems that are affecting our community. We are assisting them to get the service delivered, even when the municipalities are not doing anything. EFF, without that power, they're still on the ground making sure that our people get proper service delivery without power.
Before we have a break, just last word on socialism. You pointed out several times about socialism as the philosophy of EFF. What can you tell people about socialism?
People need to understand that socialism is all about equality. We are simply saying that we all want the means of production into the hands of the working class and the poor. Meaning we want our poor to have an opportunity to start their own toothpaste. There was a young man in Nelspruit who had an idea of doing his own petrol by recycling. And he did what do I call this? Unleaded petrol. People are buying petrol for him with 6 rand, 10 rand price, and their cars are fine and healthy. Why can't we take that boy and develop him and make sure that he's got franchises that go all over South Africa and Africa as a whole? We can't do that. You know why? Because we don't have power. The capitalists are saying no. We are tightening up the certificate. They're using paper to say to that boy that you don't qualify because of a paper. Did he need a paper for him to create that, or he needed only a mentality and wisdom to do that? He did that. So I'm simply saying that socialism is all about that inequality. It's all about having the means of production in our own hands.
Some will say, well, the communist socialism or communism didn't succeed in, for example, in Soviet Union, in maybe Italy, other countries that have tried to use either socialism or communism. It looks like it's only capitalism that seems to be successful in terms of productivity, innovation, stuff like that. Do you think this time around socialism will be different than that of Soviet Union and other African countries such as Tanzania that have tried, even Zambia as well?
Let's be honest and realistic. Capitalist has power, and they own a means of media. So all propaganda comes from them.
Yeah.
They will always portray socialism and communism as if it's something that will never, it's an ideology that will never bring change. Only capitalists will bring change because they're the ones who are beneficiary. Kenya failed not because of they failed, because of their leaders who still had the mentality of slavery. They were bought. They were just gatekeepers of the capitalists. They introduced them to come and make it as if socialism and communism will not work. So they failed it deliberately. How do you say a means of production coming to the hands of poor and middle class, all of us are equal, and someone says that won't work? How do you say that? What is not working currently is the capitalist. The capitalist that's not working. It's a white monopoly that is not working for us because we don't have any means of production. Our people are struggling. You can go right now to some of the places here in Mamelodi. 29 years in democracy. There are kids that don't even know TV. There are kids that don't even know electricity. 29 years after liberation, so-called liberation. A child does not know a TV, does not know electricity. And you say capitalist, it's what we want. Where 90% of our people are struggling and are poor. Chief. Those people that make those kind of stories.
All right, we are with Bongani from the EFF. We will be right back. Thank you. Keep watching. All right, we are back with the King Bongani. I like to call you king. In Africa, we are kings and queens. Anyway, we are not slaves. So let's pick up where you left about socialism. When you say that socialism is about giving the means of production in the hands of the people, of the masses, and looking at the current masses in Africa, because one thing that really puzzles me is the fact that when I go to social media every day, what I see is dancing, is stupid things. Our women really dehumanizing themselves. People have to be naked on the social media to attract attention. Young boys are dancing. So, in a nutshell, I look at the current generation. The majority of young African people are not ready for power. So when you take this power, because we know how it's working in the hands of the white capitalist, we know how it's working. Of course, with a lot of difficulties, but the things, I should say, the things are working. Not the way we want, but things are working. We have things working somewhere somehow. So if you take this power, give this power in the hands, or put it in the hands of these young people who have no consciousness of themselves, who don't know nothing about Steve Biko, who don't know nothing about Kisani, who don't even know something about their own history. The only thing they know is Facebook, TikTok, dancing, insulting each other. What result do you expect from these young people?
What you just mentioned, those are part of they fall into the system of the capitalist, the Facebook and so on, deriving our people to understand the history of their country and continent as a whole, deriving people away from tapping into their talent. Because in South Africa and Africa as a whole, there's so much talent that you'll never even imagine of. There are people that can do their own cars, do a car, drive it. Like I mentioned, the boy that did his own petrol, whatsoever you call it. So it shows that our people are capable. What we need to do when we enter into the power, when we introduce the socialism, we're not going to give it to the people and say, there is socialism. We're going to come up with skills development center, where we enhance the talent of our people, where we teach our people how to run the production, how to open your own industry, your plantation, how do you run a textile, how do you do your own shoes and clothes, so how do you go into businesses and teach them business plans, how you must trade with other Africans, how do you sustain your business, how do you multiply your business to end up being a franchise. It's what we're going to develop people. Hence, you look at EFF right now, is preaching the gospel of saying each and every person must go to school and study. They know that going to school and study, what it will do now, it will just channel you and bring value in you and make you to focus and have a purpose. When you focus and have a purpose, when we come in now, we enhance the skill that it's inside you. The skill of fixing cars, the skill of innovative ideas, the skill of innovative productions, and so on and so on. We know that our kids has that. They're just defocusing them to that. They're giving them entertainment.
All right. Let's jump onto the African continent now. Is it time for Pan-Africanism, meaning time for African unity?
Pan-Africanism, firstly, they need to understand that it's not a movement. It's an ideology. Mm-hmm. Each and every government that is functioning today, they're functioning under an ideology. Mm-hmm. When you see the government in South Africa functioning, it's an ideology. It's a capitalist ideology. It's a white monopoly ideology. Pan-Africanism, it's an ideology of Africa coming together to start trading and working together and start taking each other serious across Africa and diaspora. That is Pan-Africanism. But if you look at Pan-Africanism, it has not manifested yet. Julius Sillo, CIC, our incoming president, he's manifesting Pan-Africanism. That's why they're challenging him and they want him down. Because he's introducing Pan-Africanism, because he says that there must be equality. He says that Africans must start loving one another. He says that they must be borderless. Who's another African leader that is supporting Julius' ideology? Rather, the ideology of Africa. These old crooks are sleeping in the same blanket with the white monopoly. They are jawing with them. That's why they're not pushing the struggle of Pan-Africanism. They're not pushing it. But it's fine. The time is coming. We're just giving them a couple of years. God will remember them. The next generation will come and take over and enhance Pan-Africanism.
What will be the first thing that needs to happen in terms of the ideology of Pan-Africanism? The first step?
The first step, to be honest, since we have a social media platform and TikTok, we need emerging leaders to start preaching the gospel of Pan-Africanism so that they can sanitize the mind of our people, so that our people can start realizing that Pan-Africanism, in fact, it is the way to go for African and also diaspora as a whole.
Well, many people are pushing for borderless, including the commander-in-chief of EFF. But do you think if we dismantle all the borders today, there will be employment tomorrow in Africa? Because at the end of the day, the idea is not just to sit with good philosophies such as Pan-Africanism. If we don't have jobs, if we don't have economy,
True.
What we want is to have employment. What we want is to have businesses flourishing in Africa. What we want is to have Africans who determine their own future by being able to control their resources. Well, so will that be happening if you decide like today or tomorrow, let's get rid of the borders? Will that automatically result in the employment, economic development? Because I see that can even result in a civil war. Like if we remove all the borders today, tomorrow there might be civil war instead of jobs, economy and stuff. So do you think that philosophy or that agenda that is being pushed by Juju Joshua, that is being pushed by other Pan-Africanists around to dismantle all the borders, do you think is a feasible thing, is a realistic goal?
Our people must not act like they're not thinkers. They must not act like non-thinkers. Our people must be intelligent. Our people must be able to tap into their spirit and conscience to understand what we mean when we talk about borderless. We're not talking about borderless and saying that tomorrow we are simply saying that they must remove borders physically. Borderless must start first with the system. We collapse the system of capitalism. That is borderless.
Yeah. We
collapse the system of colonization. That is borderless. Because when you don't have France and Anglo-American anymore running our means of production, it's in our hands. They're no longer running our minerals. What's going to happen? We start trading amongst ourselves first. And let's see, when we trade amongst ourselves, are we developing plantations and industries now? Then when we are able to trade amongst ourselves and we see the working relationship is growing and the development of economy is growing, then we can come physically with borderless. Our people must not act like they don't understand what CIC was saying. He was simply saying that we need to collapse the system of the capitalist. And when you collapse that system, now we start negotiating and trading amongst ourselves. And when you trade amongst ourselves, what happens now? The economy grows. When the economy grows, what happens? We no longer need to have visas and so on and so on. We can just by the way, just go quickly to Lesotho and get shoes and clothes, because Lesotho are good in textile. We are simply saying that. Why our people now want to make it as if it's tomorrow? Our people must have a giraffe view. Our people must start tap into their conscience. They will understand what we're talking about when we say borderless.
What is the EFF's policy towards other Pan-Africanist movement on the continent, such as ACUP? Myself, I'm a member of ACUP, which is the African Continental Unity Party. What is your relationship towards these other organizations? What would you want to see in terms of relationships with with all these kind of other organizations?
What will relate us with all this different kind of type of organization rather is the ideology. When we all believe in the same ideology, because when you believe in the same ideology, it means you are birthed by the same mother. Because when you are birthed by the same mother will give us the same instructions and principles. So when we are birthed by the same mother, which is Mother African, we believe that Pan-Africanism / socialism will bring transformation, and we all agree and believe in that. It means we are birthed by the same mother. We will emerge and be one. We will find each other. But if we don't believe in the same system, or rather the ideology of Pan-Africanism, we are not going to find each other, because we're not fed by the same mother. We didn't breastfeeded by the same mother. So if we come from the same mother, we will understand each other. And the same mother means Mother Africa, who carries the system of Pan-Africanism.
Let's talk about this. EFF is pushing for economic freedom, right? Want to see a situation where Africans have the economy in their hands. Now, I remember in 2011, Muammar Gaddafi. You know Muammar Gaddafi?
Yes.
He had lots of money. Lots of money. He even funded by himself the projects of African satellites for communication. He was putting a lot of money for the African, what was called African Monetary Fund system. So, but we saw in a few months he was destroyed by NATO, America, France, the Allies. They came and destroyed him without really a major resistance, which to me shows that no matter how much money he had, because he couldn't secure and protect his money, it was just a simple or easy prey for those people, which is still can be the situation or the case today. Now, if EFF is only pushing to get the economic improvement of African people, what are the means do you have, or strategies do you have put in place to make sure when the enemy comes to steal that which you are building, which is the economy, you will protect it? Because for me, I look like, it looks like, for me, like somebody who goes to a dealership and buys a Lamborghini, but he doesn't have a secure house to park it, so he comes in and parks the car on the streets, right? It's the same thing as a person who wants to have a lot of economy, a lot of money, a good economy, but doesn't have the means to protect and to defend it. Because we know the West is always ready to destroy whenever we want to challenge them economically. But if we don't have the military power, so what is the strategy of EFF?
My brother, EFF is a revolutionary movement. It's not a child's play. It's not Mampe Papa. We are talking about hardcore revolutionaries. We are fully prepared, but we cannot show them that we are prepared. If they want to see that we are prepared, they must test us. The same way that Cuba conquered is the same way that we will conquer. In all sphere, if you're going to give us roses, we'll give you back roses. If you're going to give us war, we'll give you back war. Whatever you give us, you will get. We are not scared of an enemy. An enemy right now must be scared of us. In fact, I advise the enemy now to come and negotiate with us so that they can just have a smaller piece of the pie. That's a friendly advice that I can give to the enemy. What they did to our forefathers, they will never do it to us. We are not child players. We are not small boys. We know why we want to fight for this revolution, because we want our kids to have a means of production. We want our kids to live in a world of socialism, a world of peace where they can move around and do whatever they want to do. They've tried, these young boys, a couple of weeks ago when our CAC was giving a press conference, They came, these young boys, they tried to do something. We just showed them a little bit that we are capable. We are revolutionaries. We don't want people to play with us. We are not here to play. We are called, and our calling is not for us to dance and entertain people. Our calling is to make sure that we bring and deliver economic freedom in our lifetime for our people. That is what we called for. So since we are called for that, we are not scared of anyone. We are dead already. We are dead people. We are not alive. We are dead. Our kids are the ones that are going to be alive, because things will be free for them. Things will just be on a silver platter for them. We are dead. Because tomorrow we can just wake up, they kill us. We are ready, we are prepared. We are not scared of anyone. No enemy, nothing can stop what EFF is going to do in the next couple of months, come 2024.
Well, let's talk about the world. Geopolitics, the situation in the world today. Where do you think Africa should position itself? Because we see, let me take one case, the war in Russia, the war between Russia and Ukraine. We see that Africa is almost divided. There are those who align themselves with the Americans, those who align themselves with the Russians, and those who stay neutral. What do you think Africans, us as a common people, because EFF is for common people.
Yeah.
Us, all of us, we are for common people. ACP is also for common people. What is the message that you, as a representative of EFF, can give to the African out there, all over the world, particularly on the continent? Where should we position ourselves in this geopolitical development?
What I can say to our neighboring countries and Africa as a whole is that we need to fight for socialism. We need to position ourselves in a way that we own our means of production. We are able to have the minerals in our capable hands. We have ability. If you look at buildings that today people are staying in, are built by Africans. A lot of things are built by Africans, by the way. Electricity system and whatever you can call it, built by the black people. It means we are capable. Why are we undermining ourselves? Why do we have self-hate? Why do we have low self-esteem? We are confident we've got ability to do that. Even when they sanction us, we can still survive, because wealth is in Africa. There's nothing there in Europe and so on. They live by Africa. And you should understand that Africa is the mother of everyone. So I'm saying to Africans that let them align to the ideology of Fanon, Lenin, and Marxism, the ideology of socialism. A manifesto communist must be our Bible of politics, so that we can be able to align ourselves proper.
That's you're referring to Karl Marx.
Yes.
He was racist, though.
Well, his ideology was different. If you look at him, if you judge him as a person, I can say that. But if you judge his ideologies, it's a different story. I normally tell people that don't view a person with a perspective of a personality. View a person with a perspective of a soul, because a soul has a gift, and that gift will benefit you.
What would you say about a pastor who goes around, smoke weeds, sleep with the girls, other people's wives, and then come back, start preaching the gospel of love, holiness? What would you say? Would you accept this message, or would you judge him?
I will accept his message and leave him and put him aside. His things will deal with him. Whatever he sow, he shall reap. It's a principle. You cannot change that. He will face his consequences. What is important is the voice that's coming out there. You might think that the voice is him. No, it's the soul. It's simply saying, people, be convicted. So let's not judge people based on what they do. Let's judge people based on what they say to us. Because what they say to us is very important. That's why you ask those who have passed, how is the road? They've done things. Go ask them, how's the road? They will tell you, because they've passed the day. It doesn't mean if they did those things, you're going to say, I'm not going to listen to you, I'm going to do what you're doing. That's foolishness. That is totally foolishness. So we're going to pass there. So what I'm trying to say to people is that let's not look at the perspective, let's not look at the person with the perspective of personality, because personality can always change. Let's look at a person based on a perspective of a soul, where we look at the gift, the ideology that he carries.
Mm-hmm. Who are your greatest Pan-Africanists that you have studied, that you can recommend to African people?
Look, I don't really have a favorite one. Let me just be honest. CIC Julius Malema, he's my hero. I did not know Pan-Africanism up until I listened to him. So he convicted me to start listening to Sangara and the rest. So who's my hero? The one that convicted me. No. He convicted me. So I look up to him.
Okay. Well, going back to Africa, you said in terms of what is developing in the world today, the position that Africans should embrace is socialism. But it didn't explain to what end, because the question was, the world is changing now, whereby we are seeing a shift from the Western monopoly to maybe Eastern monopoly, where you have China emerging. So even though we embrace socialism, I know that China is also kind of a socialist country. That means we should align ourselves with China. We should be under Chinese umbrella as African people, or we should have our own type of socialism, or socialism as African people. Do you see that kind of? Do you see that there's one socialism that can be portrayed by Chinese as well as by Africans, or Africans should have their own type of socialism?
Look, we need to redefine our socialism as Africans, because our environment and place and state is not the same as China. Mm-hmm. We are not going to be under anyone. We are equal to them. Hence we have BRICS. When we are equal to them, it means we're going to trade from one another. We have wealth of minerals. Mm-hmm. They have a way of means of production. They've got skills, so they can give us the skills, develop us. We can exchange with what we have, including Russia, India, and Brazil. So we're not going to submit under anyone. We are equal. We've got ability to grow. We've got ability to change. So we are equal to them. We are not going to submit to anyone. What we need to do is just to redefine our own socialism in Africa.
Mm-hmm. What should that be? In terms of what should that be, the African context of socialism? What foundation or what point of difference should it have, or should be there compared to what, for example, can happen in China or other places except Africa?
In Africa, we've got borders. It's the first challenge. Borders in terms of the system, borders in terms of physical. We need to deal with it. We need to equip our people to have knowledge and skill of how they can start their own industries and plantation. We should teach our people to enhance their skills and start having their own toothpaste, their own cars, and so on. We need to start now engaging with other African countries on how we can exchange or trade from one another. We've got Congo that has a cocoa. We can produce our own chocolate. We don't have to go to Switzerland to get chocolate. We can just jump into Congo. Congo can come to us in terms of diamond and whatsoever. We start trading from one another. That should be the point of departure, of starting to negotiate with one another as African countries, to see how best we can trade from one another, how best we can bring resources and build plantations, how best we can bring resources and build industries that will bring trading amongst ourselves, so that the economy of our country and the economy of Africa can be able to grow. I still say that Africa must have one currency.
One president.
Well, one president, let's leave it to our next generation.
Next generation.
Let them deal with it.
But
Let us deal with the economic development.
But if we don't give them guidelines, how will they be even able to know what has to happen or what must happen?
No one gave us guidelines.
No, they did. Sankara, you just pointed out Sankara.
Well,
you pointed out Mandela.
They will be privileged because they will have the likes of CIC Julius Malema, who will be the president of South Africa. Mm-hmm. They will learn a lot from that man. That man, he is young, but he's a giant in the spirit. Mm-hmm. He's got vast wisdom that he can deposit to South Africa and Africa as a whole. Let's give him an opportunity to take over and introduce his ideology to us. We must not have fear to tap into his ideology, because his ideology, honestly, is an ideology that will really bring a transformation and liberation to our people. And by doing so, our kids will learn and see from him that, there was a young man from Seshiho in a normal rural area. He emerged, to say, and he became one of the best. So he will be a very great testimony also to children that grew up without mothers and fathers, who were raised by their grandchildren, that they can also do it. They can become like him. So he's a very, very powerful testimony to our people.
Going back to one currency. If you have one currency, definitely you're going to need one government, because a currency has to be managed by a government. So if you have one government, eventually you must have one leader. I don't know if so if we leave them one currency, we don't leave them clarity in terms of what government structure will manage that one currency. I don't know. Is that from your own point of view, or is that the whole philosophy of EFF in terms of?
It's my own point of view.
Okay.
Look, we have a currency from Europe with different government. They're working well together. They're doing quite well. Mm-hmm. It means we can do the same. We can work and become greater with one currency. One currency what it does is it gives us the sense of building a relationship and being common to one another. Because no one's going to exceed or increase a product to another person. We're going to have a product, sell it with the same price tag. That's the reason why we must have our own currency. Because if you're going to use dollar and some are using euro, what's going to happen? Mm-hmm. So if we use one currency, which is an African currency, we will be able to trade well and smoothly to one another.
A message to your president?
The message to my president is that he must keep it up. He must not, by all means, change. He is the generation. He is the Joshua of this generation. He is going to bring deliverance and transformation to our people. I have confidence and faith in him that he will bring economic development in our country and Africa as a whole. He must not be shaken. He must stand firm. We rally behind him. We believe in his ideology. And his ideology might not be seen now, but it will grow when time goes. He must stand firm and nothing must move him. We love him and we're not going to change. We are convicted by his ideology. We'll stick to his ideology till death divide us.
A message to those who are against Pan-Africanism in South Africa or outside South Africa.
To those ones, I say to them, do not shut down Pan-Africanism altogether. Have a room to learn, understand it. If something you have not learned and understand it, do not shut it down. Do not have fear of unknown. We know what we are now. We are on capitalist and it's a fear for us. But we cannot have fear of something that we don't know. Why can't we tap into something new? It's like a grieving woman who the husband has abused her and left her. Now she can't date another man because she's scared that the other man will abuse her like a husband. And that woman is not a wise woman. She's not ready to learn and understand. She must be open to learn and understand. I'm simply saying to our people, open your mind, learn. Go check Pan-Africanism. What is it all about? up until you exhaust that net, and then you can make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you, King Bongani. It has been a pleasure to have you today. Hopefully, we're gonna have another conversation in the coming days. But this has been a very fruitful conversation. I'm sure a message out there will have an impact in the minds of young people to see that it is time for the revolution, and we call this revolution Pan-Africanism, without which Africa has no future. Africa has no destiny. We look at it as the only possible way to change the situation of African people. And you have said this revolution is all about giving people the power, making people the masters of their own destiny, rather than having the power in the hands of a tiny minority. So I'm happy to sit down with you as a member of EFF and to share our common ideologies, to share our ideas, and we have lots in common, than we differ. So this is a great move. It shows that Africa is in progress. Probably 5 or 10 years from now, we see Africa different from what you see today. Thank you very much for your time. See you next time.
Pleasure.
All right. Peace and love, peace and power to all African people. If you have 2 shoes, please, you know what we say. Sell one and buy a sword. If you have 2 trousers, you need to sell one and buy a sword, because now it is time for revolution.